Friday afternoon, and you're mostly all here. Kia ora koutou, ngā mihi kia koutou, tēnā rā koutou katoa. Ngā mihi ki te whānau kia piki, rawa ko the kaimahi rangahau, me te everybody else. I'd like to acknowledge our overseas participants, and I'm going to take you through a little bit of a process that you wouldn't have got as you came through our arrival gates today, and I'm going to take you through a pōwhiri. Oh, technological issues. So, Te Ira Tangata, something that I've been working on with Simon for the last, 5 years trying to get funding, 3 years of doing. And Te Ira Tangata came out of some of the research I did for my PhD that finished in 2005, where I said that, you know, culture does make a difference around Māori who attempt suicide. So in Te Ira Tangata, yeah, we did similar to Access, but we did it in our way. And we did that by using kaupapa Māori methods of hauora. Te Ira Tangata had 582 people who could have come into our study. That was our pool population, of which 37% weren't eligible due to mostly being under the age of 18. So we didn't include people who are currently at school. We didn't include people that were currently psychotic and couldn't consent, and those that didn't live within the area. The difference between Te Ira Tangata and Access was that we recruited from Northland, Waitemata and counties Manukau. We didn't include participants from Waikato because we hit our numbers, which is pretty awesome. For research among Māori, that is, anyway. Not necessarily suicidal Māori. Randomised, we had 365 participants that were able to be randomised, and of which 52% consented to the trial, and 39% consented to the control group. Some findings. Who were randomised? Well, essentially what Simon says, they're around the age of 30, 31, 32 years of age for those who consented and those who did not. Mostly females, and something that is significant here is the slightly bold numbers down the bottom where it says previous history of self-harm. Māori who consented were more likely to have a history of self-harm, compared to non-Māori, less likely to present with an overdose. So two significant findings already. So, what process did these guys go through? Who hasn't been to a pōwhiri? Who hasn't been through a Māori process of engaging? Be brave, put your hand up. I know there's a couple of people in here. Okay, who has been to a pōwhiri? Oh, love it, love it. So when the big scary brown fella who's half naked comes running at you with a bit green frond, what do? Some of us run the other way. They're a bit scary. But, you know, when you think about that, that's what our people are facing when they come through the doors at an ED. Big, scary processes. May not be a brown fella that's half naked, but it's a scary process. We have to, you know, we're engaging with a process that we're unfamiliar with, yeah? So if you think about that with all your services, that's what people are facing when they come, and it's a challenge to engage. Big, scary brown fella, half naked, yeah? So the other part of the next step in a pōwhiri process is a karanga. Now, for those of you who karanga, you know this process well. You've done your homework. You know who's coming through the door. You know what they're coming with, and you know why they're there, yeah? Something that some of our services don't do so well is actually know who's coming through their door, what they need, why they're there, what you're going to give them. So in a karanga process, our wahine, our females, know that. And when they're calling, they're opening up that realm. Karakia, very important part of the process. It's about setting the scene. It's about making things right. It's about having the prayer. It's about starting the engagement in the right way. Whai kōrero. So this is problem-solving therapy. We call it the whai kōrero. This is where the blokes get up with their toko and they're talking usually for quite a long time. And they've got a lot of things to say that are really, really important. However, for problem-solving therapy, this is where our Māori clinicians would be engaging, it'd be talking, it'd be teaching about how to do problem-solving therapy. How to do problem-solving, sorry. Waiata, beautiful Māori wahine singing. It's also the part, the play that the people played who were participants in this. They would go home and work on those action plans they developed in their therapy sessions, and they'd come back and they'd say the bits that worked, the bits that didn't work, the problems they came up against, and work through that cycle again. One of the specific things we did within the whai kōrero, within problem-solving therapy for Māori, is actually address their levels of cultural alienation. We would ask them to consider that being disconnected from their culture might actually be an issue for them and help them work on some of those processes to re-engage with their culture. Koha. Koha is actually an important process within the Māori engagement. It's about reciprocity, it's about giving back, and we gave koha to our participants. The hongi. The hongi is where we all come up and we press noses. We become one, we breathe the same air. This is the coming together of our clinicians and our clients. Because without coming together and being on the same level and being in the same place, how can you progress together? The hakari. Hakari is a feed. It lifts the tapu. It's what makes us normal. It's about coming together, and we did that too. At the end of each of those sessions and at the end of the 4 to 5, 6 sessions that we had with people, we would lift the tapu by sharing food. And puraporaki, well, we're just starting to do that now. As Simon says, we've literally just playing with the data as we speak. A few more findings. So the hopelessness was the main measure for Te Ira Tangata, and we managed to significantly change levels of hopelessness in the right direction by 1.6 points. So people were generally less hopeless after they'd gone through Te Ira Tangata and our pōwhiri model of engagement. Some more stats. Essentially, for those randomised participants, what we found at 3 months, significantly fewer people repeated, but this wasn't to be the case after 12 months. And more Māori have higher rates of representation than non-Māori. These are things we didn't know. So, in all, Te Ira Tangata, in the intervention group, we had a few more people participate, but 81 people received patient support. So 87% of the people who did engage, who went through the whittle, actually continued through that patient support process. 60 people, so that's 65% actually completed problem-solving therapy, of which there was 4 sessions on average. 22% said yes, they would participate, but didn't turn up. And 17 people used their GP vouchers, which is around 18%. So we don't really do the GP thing. So nearly everyone received postcards, and essentially in conclusion, it is preliminary data. Please don't go writing to the Lancet or the BMJ yet. And services that need to ensure that Māori are involved with Māori care post self-harm, and using Māori models of hauora improve levels of hopelessness. Kia ora koutou, katoa.